Hi, good evening everyone, and good morning to the ones who are in US. This is Ananya Jha tuning in, and today we have with us Flame Newton from Phoenix, Arizona. Flame Newton is known for his vast knowledge in the credit system built by the United States. He's also an author. He wrote the book, The School of Credit, Learn and Master the 12 Steps of the American Credit System. And he also has the School of Credit Learn. He is recognized as America's #1 credit educator, and he has first-hand knowledge of the inner workings with banks, collection agencies, credit bureaus, etc. And today he's going to be talking to us about event planning as a career. So welcome, Mr. Newton here. Thank you so much for joining.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi. So yeah, why don't we start off with, just a short introduction, and then you can take it forward.
Okay. Pretty much today we're pretty much talking about event planning. I come from the space of credit and financial, but I've also did a lot of things in this actual space as well, which is the event planning space as well. For one, I did something that was unheard of, that was unastronomical, was in the year of 2021, our previous year, I did over 65 speaking engagements, right? 65. That's me doing conferences, conventions, workshops, seminars, and all of different types of things, whether it's churches or anything that have you. So pertaining to that kind of gives me a leeway to kind of share with you about what I have today.
Right. So, and today you'll be speaking about, event planning and how, you're supposed to get a career in that, yeah. So please take it forward.
Okay, cool. Man, listen, I am glad, I'm excited that you guys are here with us today. One thing that I can say is that I'm all about giving out value, So today what you're gonna learn is you're gonna learn about event planning as a career. And I'm gonna take you from a point that where what you're gonna learn, hopefully it'll be something that can stick with you for the rest of your lives. And that's one of my main objectives under this acclimate. One of the things is you probably ask yourself, well, who is Flame Newton, right? Well, Flame Newton is, I'm a person that has been in this field, as I was saying earlier, because I've been in event spaces. I've actually held events. I actually started my lifelong as a career. I started doing events at far as on the musical side, right? When you start having artists at whether it be clubs or whether it be actually coliseums, whether it be parks or that same things of that nature, right? So that's pretty much where I kind of started off with it. But what you're guys gonna learn today is you're gonna learn about the steps that I've taken to get to where I've been at and what I've been able to use. And I'm gonna show you how you're gonna be able to create monetary off of that so you guys can do the same. Like that's the whole objective for you guys to do the same. With that being said, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna give you 10 strategies to tackle to get in this game. So right now, if I don't know if you hear right now, whether you're live or whether you record it, regardless of where you're at, what I need you to do right now is I need you to go in the chat and I need you to write the number 10. Like I'm very interactive. I got to have participation. So what I need you to do is to go in the chat, write the number 10, because these 10 strategies here, right, they're going to take you from one level to the next. It's essentially as you climbing stairs. As you climb stairs, in order to get to the top, one leg has to go in front of the other in order for you to reach that pinnacle of that, right? So what we're going to do is learn about the 10 strategies to tackle, and I'm going to show you about how all of this stuff combines into one, and about what you're going to get out of it. And I'm gonna love to hear your back. So you can definitely being able to communicate with me. I love that. So let's talk about the first one. Number one thing that we got to understand is we're talking about the actual event. And so when we're talking about the event, one of the time, well, I like to call them shows, right? So regardless of which show it is it a wedding that you're after, right? Is it a conference that you're trying to put on? Whether it's a webinar as a whole, right? These are different variations of them, right? So when you're talking about the event, right, and you're talking about that show that you're gonna put on, right? One of the things is you start talking about the operation side, right? Sometimes when you get into it, right, understanding about how the operations work. So I'm glad that you guys have tuned in now so you can understand the logistical side about how of this operation side works with it, right? Also, number 3 is I want you to understand about the legalities, right? That's why it's essential to any time that you're doing in any event is to making sure that you have a legal side representing, right? Because you can be in variations of different places and you have these things called insurance, right? That may have to prevent you if someone was to get hurt at your event. You want to make sure that even before you start the event that you're protected, right? Protection is a key element here, is learning how all of this works, making sure that you're protected, right, at the event, right? And the way that you're protected is making sure that you have your legalities that are along with it. Also, understanding about your accounting. See, your accounting is everything. This is a way that when we first start off in this ordeal is, and I'm going to talk about this at the end, I want you to understand it now, is that you got to understand your monetary value. So you're going to have to go through and do a list of these things. So the things that I'm talking about through your 10 strategies, I want you to put a list together of your 10 strategies when we get done. And I want you to figure out what is the numeral side of this, right? So you can understand what is your bottom line number, which you have to actually have, right? And also not just your bottom line number, which you actually have, so you can actually correlate that with your event, so you can understand the pricing and all of these things that can go into it, so it can make a successful event as it is, right? We want it to be success at a very high level, right? Number 2. See, number 2 is when we start to get into our venue, right? One of the key elements is when you're doing this, right, on the financial side. So that's where I come in at, is on the financial side. Your location is going to be key for a multitude of different things, right? Knowing that if you're in the center of a location where everything is happening at, and you got your guests being able to be it and being at a spacing where everything that can occur right there, right? A lot of these places are what I call like kind of like downtown areas or anything of that, right? You got to understand that the pricing is going to be different pertaining to something that's out. Also, the type of venue that you're actually in, right? Do you want an extravagant venue or do you want something nice, right? Regardless of what it is, you want to making sure that when you're doing this and you're going through your elements of control of how these venues work, that you yourself can actually find something that can accommodate your guests. Understand that the pricing is going to come off of that venue pricing, right? Because when you're going around, I want you to be able to ask questions while you're doing your event, right? Ask them, ask them saying, hey, they might give you a pricing and say, and just for the purpose of this story, they may tell you, hey, this is around $10,000 in America, right? Now, if they're telling you this, ask them questions such as, do you break this up in payments, right? Can you break this up in 3 or 4 different payments, right? Is this something that can be a monthly plan leading up to the event, right? Knowing that you have this type of access to it may put you at an advantage. Why the advantage? Because now you can actually allocate funds from different resources that now you can put into your venue that can actually make that decisions for you underneath that code, right? Also, when you get into this, you want to make sure that you can provide or even know about what is their food and beverage package. Now, I get it. You have a family member, or you may have a friend, or you may actually know a business owner that you may want to do business with outside of the location of your event. But a lot of these locations nowadays, they're asking you to use from their vendors, right? Or they're providing the food or beverage from their vendors, right? Also, if there's a meetup prior to the event, is there such thing as a happy hour, right? You know, the place where you can all congregate at where prior to, and how is this going to be fulfilled? Because as you know, when you get into your event, as you guys congregate, this could be a key essential tool to being able to communicate with one another prior to the event starting, right? What happens during the event, or if you want to have different breaks where you can actually do this, right? This could be a place where you can add this into it. And then also, can be an upsell of the event by adding this feature in there, right? Adding this feature, and then you understand the numerical side about how you're able to do it, right? Fours, when you start talking about your decor, now this is something that is very, very slow pertaining to people being able to understand this caliber of it. Now, the decor is basically setting up your event, right? Making sure that do you have a design structure for it, right? Does this event cost for a lot of flowers? If so, that's an added cost. When you're dealing with the florist on that end, or if you're dealing with the event, you want to find out from that particular third party, right? How are they structured up financially? Are they saying, hey, this is going to be a $5,000 fee? Right? How do you put that into it? Right? By negotiating. Negotiating is a tactic in which you can actually communicate with them. When you're communicating with them, you're telling them, hey, I can do it based upon these terms, because when you're communicating with them, this allows them to say, hey, you know what? We have a lot less going on during this time of the year, which now allows us to actually take in consideration of making payments so we can actually get the business, as well as getting a few different quotes, even if you're doing food or beverage or even decor outside of the element of the event space. Now, when you get those, when you actually get those different quotes from different lenders, different places, what you're actually able to do now is compare and contrast, which only means that now you can put them up against one another by saying, hey, I've got somebody that's going to allow me to do X, Y, and Z. Here's a proposal that I already have. And with that being said, I wanted to see if you can match this, or maybe you can top this, or maybe it might be a consideration point where they're saying, hey, we want your business so much, we're going to add on an extra feature for you in order to consider us. And I think that is something unique when you get inside of the venue, right? Next, when it comes to your advertising, right? Your advertising, for you guys that are trying to get into the event space and you guys want to make a career out of it, I want to make sure that when you get into your advertising, relationships are key in these elements, right? What relationships am I talking about? Having relationships at the radio, having relationships with TV or newspapers or magazines. So when you got these type of relationships, what it allows to them is, even though that you may be paying for certain type of advertisement, right? By you giving free features away, which may be a t-shirt, or which may be a copy of something that you actually have, or even inviting them to the event, can actually be a free promotional tool and be advertising for you based upon that, which now saves you money and increases the dynamics of being able for folks to being able to want to be a part of this, right? That is something that I want you to know, right? As well as number 4. Now, this is something that a lot of folks don't understand this, and this is where we're going to get into it, right? Is when you start talking about marketing, right? I understand that you may have credit cards or things of that nature. This is a key way of being able to raise the limits on your credit card, and as well as increase the exposure of what you have going on, right? Because these places carry advertisements, and when you're able to market in these places, right? Such as your website, right? Going to other folks' websites that already have a lot of traffic and advertising on those websites, right? Being able to contact them and seeing which element that you can be a part of, right? What about your social media? Now, and I get it, this day and age, social media is taken up by storm. But some of the ways that you can deal with this marketing pertaining to the social media content is being able to have the thing called influencers. Now, all influencers are not the people that you actually see on TV or things of that nature. They may be experts in the field of which you have in the event in, right? And if they are experts in that field, therefore, you can actually provide some material for them, right? Alongside with that, or may even, as I call them, say, rent a person, which means that you can pay them to market for you because they have a huge following in that particular area, and that following may want to start following you or your event that you have up to place, right? Now, you also understand that they have these things called email blasts. You guys can actually get into the email, being able to present this in such a way that that you can actually, when somebody touches on something or does something pertaining to any of your social media, you can now redirect them to an email to being able to distribute out more information that is accumulative to being able to direct get you. You know what I mean? That's the type of stuff that I get into when we get in here, right? Being able to show you how you can actually monetize your event, but as well as being able to be cost efficient along while doing it by looking at other resources that you can tackle on. That's why I gave it the 10 strategies for tackling this type of success, right? Also, when it comes to print, print is a certain way that you can actually get into where you have different places now, whether you're dealing with Fiverr. I know you guys probably have heard of it, which is a freelance site which you can actually go to and find somebody to do some marketing material that's up for it, that you can actually print and make flyers and that you can put them at different locations. What about heavy eateries that actually deal with folks that are in your industry that you're actually trying to gather them up to bring them up, right? Now all of this is essential because when you're making that decision, right, that one decision that can take you from one extreme to the next, you know, as I talked about earlier, taking one step at a time, when you start to taking that caliber of what you're doing, now what you're doing is you're going next level. And by you getting into your marketing and getting your brand name out there, now your exposure comes back onto you, but you also have people that are now attached to you based upon your relationships, which now saves you money, increases your revenue on your bottom line, right? Number five, right? It depends on what kind of event that you have. We got to understand about the speakers that you do have. Now, so if you got into this game and you start talking about different weddings, or you want to be a wedding planner, or which is part of event planning, or anything of that nature, there may be other speakers that people fairly to realize, like such as a DJ, right? How much does a DJ cost, right? Which can be a form of advertisement, or you can get what we call a host, a person that can host your event. That person that hosts your event gives that event a lot of life. It gives it exposure. It gives it that energy. You know, that tang, kind of like what I'm doing now, giving you guys a bunch of energy and a bunch of tang. So when you got these type of events that can actually do that for you, what it does is it livens up the crowd and people get all into it. That's why it's essential to have that, right? One of the key elements that you want in this is making sure that you have a contract, right? By being able to have these type of contracts with them, what it allows is you're seeing, hey, what am I paying for? Am I paying for hotel? Am I paying for flights if they're coming from out of town? What type of foods do they eat? Do they have any allergies? All of these things are essential when you're having these contracts. Knowing a bottom line about how are you paying them? Are you giving them 50% up front and then 50% after the event is over, right? All of these things are essential, right? Knowing about how much time is going to be allotted. Now, this is one of the things that folks kind of slow down on. Knowing, from letting the speaker know, whether it's the DJ, whether it's the host, whether it's a speaker that you have been talking about a particular subject matter content, that you let them know how long will they be in that space, right? Along with, right, knowing them, letting everybody know the program. Now, this is where people kind of fall off a little. Not letting them know the program. By letting them know the order of events, what things are to come, and how this stuff brings out, man, it can change everything. Because now this is a point of an event that if you have something that may be developed for kids, and it may be on the second or third day, right, as opposed to the first day, if this is a multi-day event, now they can say, hey, you know what, my kids can stay in for this particular day, but they could pretty much come the next day. By you allowing your participants that are involved, you're allowing your guests knowing, and you're allowing your speakers to know about what exactly is going on. Now, all of this takes place because you're planning, understanding what you're doing. You're planning the event. And that's why you guys are here. So you guys can actually understand what it takes to plan, right? Knowing about, when you're dealing with your speakers, getting their bio in advance, having their bio, right? Knowing exactly what they're talking about, who are they from, what industries have they provided for them before, can see if it can make it a great fit, right? that's kind of like how I got here. We made it a great fit, right? Understanding about what I'm able to do and being able to save you guys money is my expertise in this, right? Knowing about the practices in which you guys can follow and they have, right? You got to understand that two sides are coming together when you have a speaker, right? What are some of the pitfalls and dangers of this, along with some of what are the uphills and things that can come from this? They're challenging, right? Knowing that by having the right speaker that can actually entertain the crowd, these are the things that actually can drive up the drive up the revenue of the event. Because if you got an ongoing event that goes from one year to the next, by you having the type of speakers that people love to hear, they may want to be coming just because of that speaker, and that speaker themselves are drawing a crowd to the event and letting your key audience knows what's going on. That's why that is essential to it. Oh man, see, this is when we start to talk about saving money. By understanding about how to go out and go get sponsors, right? Pertaining to your event, right? What sponsors are you looking for? You're looking for sponsors that can actually benefit from you having that event, right? And so, for example, if we was doing, I don't know, if we were doing a wedding, right? And we were doing a wedding show, right? By doing that, what you can actually do is reach out to people that are in that industry. Maybe it's places that carry wedding equipment, wedding gear, right? That they're gonna have their crowd of people that would actually be there, right? When you have that crowd of people that's gonna actually be there, what it does now is it makes them want to be a part of it, right? By having complete packages, by you having so many different design things that you want at the event, you can actually have that sponsor take care of that for you, which can now eliminate the expenses that comes out of pocket and puts more money into yours. Now, do you see where we're going? By actually putting it in the contract, understand how you're gonna be able to market to them, and understand all the logistics that come from it, right? When you can able to reach your sponsors in such a way that they want to be attached to you and what you have going on, that now takes everything that you got to a whole nother level. When I say the sky's the limit, man, it's even beyond that, because now what you just did was you eliminated the cost structure in which it took for you to actually have an advantage with that. Right? Listen, matter of fact, I got to pause right now. This is what I'm looking for. If you guys are gaining any type of knowledge from this, from anywhere, if you're just logging in, if it's on recorded, I want you to go in the chat because I like engagement. I want you to press the number 10. The number 10 gives me energy. It lets me know that you're following along. It lets me know that you're following along, right? So understanding about sponsors, about what that does for you and how that can actually decrease the cost that are effective with it, but it also increases the revenue that you can make off of being an event planner. I think that is key essential, right? Number 7, this is when we start to get into our production, right? Understanding about our audio and our video, right? Are you going to have some of these things that are online? Do you have everything that goes into it? Knowing that your production is key is because people want a clear-cut avenue about what's actually going to be presented. Do you have screens that you're going to have available, right? How are people going to be able to see this, right? Where are you going to get your production company from? Is it going to be your family members, or will you go out and actually hire a company, or whether you utilize the company that may be third party from the event space in which you're using, right? All of these things come into play, right? When you start to look at the stages, the wiring, everything of that nature, are you hiding the wiring, right? So when you get into this, this is where we're talking about being able to be productive, being able to making sure that you're not only an event planner for the event, but you're an event planner for your business as well, to making sure that you can actually combat that with everything that goes into it, right? Being able to illustrate everything that you want inside of the contracts, so there is no discrepancy between one and the other on that. Oh man, number 8. So this is when we start talking about the screen. What type of microphone do you have? Do you have a microphone that is actually, that is a clear microphone, right? Sometimes what you have to do is you might have to have a better microphone, which may cost money, right? The event space itself may have a microphone, but the microphone that they have may not be up to your standards, right? Understanding that different types of microphone gives different type of echoes in different environments. Understanding what is the structure of the room, right? Why is the structure in it? Because me, myself, I did an event one time, right? And they were using the internet. Now the internet's a good internet, but the problem was the building was an older building. So the solidness of that building was complete concrete, what was hard for it to extract the internet through. Knowing these things firsthand can actually save you an embarrassment, time, effort, energy, and money, right? Knowing that how that works. Because had we known this, we would have made sure that we internally grabbed a secondary internet site, that making sure that we capture all the internet spacing that was in there, right? What about your entertainment that you're going to actually have, right? Every event needs you want some type of entertainment. You want people to be engaged, right? Are you going to have a live band? If you do, is there a complete setup for it, right? Are you going to have a few live bands that you're going to have on call with you? So when you have an event, you can add this on as an added feature, right? Knowing that when you got your battery, that you want to make sure that you got backup batteries. Are your batteries charged before the event? Making sure that you can go through and that you got all of these essentials that kind of go through it, right? And also, you also want to know your stage, right? How is your stage seating, right? How does it look out towards the crowd? Are you standing up? Is the stage a place is almost considered a prop and you're using it as a floor? Are people sitting on the stage? How many people can be held on that stage is something that you want to know, because what we don't want to have is a disaster where too many people could be on stage and it can actually fall through. We've seen that happen at big events before. Those are the things that we're trying to avoid by knowing them and doing your event planning as a whole. You can actually see it come together, watching your vision and seeing it in its entirety. Number 9. So when it comes to your attendees to your event, communication is everything. Now, you're probably asking yourself now, Flame, what are you talking about when you're saying communication, right? How are you communicating with them? After they made a payment, do they just make a payment for the event and you never hear from them again? No, you got to continue to talk to them, right? Send them an email out every so often, alerting them and letting them know what's going on. It gives them a comfort level. A comfort level at that point, they become your actual advertisement for your business. They do, because they're saying that how well they've been treated, even though they have not made it to the event yet, right? Also, when you're getting your payments, you want to make sure that you have a payment structure that you can capture all payments that comes towards you, right? How are you able to catch it? Is it credit card? Is it cash? Whatever form of fashion that you can accept payment, you want to make sure that you got them all on deck so you can actually capture their payment. What about the online structure? Can they log in? Is it difficult to do, right? You want to make this process as easy and as strenuous as possible. You want people to feel comfortable when they're giving out their money towards this, right? Also, when it comes to the event, wherever your location is, you got to know where your directions are, how to get to the event, right? Where do they, do they have an address, right? How well in advance do they have this address, right? What about the accommodation, the hotels, right? Or do they have any rooms? Are you constantly letting them know about the availabilities of the rooms there? Do you guys, as an event planner, are you guys getting kickbacks from these hotels that you're utilizing hosting your events by going in negotiating this, saying, hey, your rates are $149 a night. Hey, I want to make it $199 a night. So every hotel room we sell, that we're making $50 off of every room. This is something that you can. You see how this financial comes into and comes into the event planning about how you can make your extras off of things like that. Also, before the event, do you got your lanyards or your badges? Or what form of communication are you going to have to know who paid and who didn't by having your event at this space, right? Is there any type of way to allocate it? Are you using wristbands? for that nature, right? You want to make sure that you got all of these things that are inquired with this. Also, the accesses that you're using. Is this an all access pass, or is this just a regular pass, right? Are you going to have media there, right? Do they have a certain pass, right? If you're having food there, is the food there for everyone to eat, or is it for VIP only, right? These are the things that I want you guys to gather up when it comes to this, right? Noting. 10, this is where you start scaling, right? Scaling your business is essential, right? This is where you start scaling as a whole, right? How are you going to pay for all of this stuff that we talked about? Now, one of the ways we talked about is getting to being a sponsor, but there are also other ways. Some of the ways is that you have to produce some money. And some of the ways that you do that is being able to budget. As we talked about these events, we talked about in certain areas about how you can utilize others and you can scale that business that way, right? Understanding about how do you put money to the side for this event, right? Are you taking any money up front on this event, right? Knowing where the funds is going to be allocated to, right? And seeing if they're not putting in kitties or in escrows or things of that nature, which holds that money so you're not spending it, right? Maybe it may be a situation where you're actually going to go get some loans. Now, a loan is a place that I specialize in, right? That's Premier stating that, saying, hey, I can show that I'm credit worthy, that I'm adjustable by paying this. But one of the key elements is being able to design this program in which you do it, being able to put every single thing that we talked about, 1 through 9, in a verbal standpoint, but that verbal is communicated on paper. And that is what we call putting together a plan. By putting together a plan and you actually illustrated this stuff out step by step by step, this is essentially how you guys can grow. And learning about how to finance different things. Man, we talked about so many things that go in this, whether it's your DJ, whether it's your flowers, whether it's your decor, whether it's your chairs or your ornaments, where there's other companies that you're going to be utilizing, your audio, your visual equipment, whether it's your event space as a whole, right? How, and seeing if you can finance those places to being able to produce that, right? And put that into the situation. Listen, those were the 10 strategies of how to actually take that ladder and that step to get into this world. Right? And that world is when we start talking about getting into event planning. Listen, hopefully, right? I've gave you guys enough content, something of that nature. And how you doing? Was that okay? Was that cool? Did they get a lot of information out of that?
You did. I think that was pretty good. That was very informative. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So if you guys want to reach out to me on any level, however I can assist, it's always meetflame.com, where I have a book, like I said before, which is Learn and Master the Credit Level, which is the School of Credit, which is right there at meetflame.com. And all my contact information is on there. Well, one thing I could say that you guys are in right hands, y'all in good hands right here. And what I also want you to do, since this is recorded, I want you to go over this webinar a couple times, not just once or twice. I want you to be a part of your process, because I gave out a lot of information in a short amount of time, but these are essentially the things that I had to do in order for me to get ahead in this particular space. For me, not only being a speaker in these spaces, but actually me curating events in these spaces. So only thing that I was doing was sharing with you, guys, how you guys can be very, very successful in this business. But one thing in particular that you got to do is have a plan. By you mapping out your plan about which direction that you want to go into, I think you, and who am I talking about? If you can hear my voice and you can see my face, I'm talking to you. You guys are going to be very successful along the way. And I can't wait to hear the success stories. Can you make sure we get some of these success stories about how they started their business and about what came from it? This
definitely.
is what we're going to do.
Definitely.
Thank you, thank you, and thank you again.
Thank you so much, Flame, for taking out the time. And I genuinely think it was very interesting and very informative. And anybody who watches this video is definitely going to learn something once they're done with it. So thank you for doing that and for your enthusiasm and for making this beautiful presentation. So thank you so much. And it was a pleasure talking to you this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we'll sign off now.
Is it still recording?